Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Simon. I'm the founder and the chairman of Voy. Voy is about, effectively, Voy is about taking the world's currencies of loyalty and bringing them together and empowering people to travel. But what I want to do for the next 10 minutes is I want to tell you a story. And this is a story that is the story of every successful startup business. And it's a story that starts with a real problem. Right? There is no startup that doesn't start with a real problem. It goes on to recruit a team that are the right people to solve that problem. And finally, it delivers a solution that actually works. So those are the three things that I'm going to talk about today. The problem, and I'm actually indebted to Robert for queuing up this problem so nicely this morning, thank you. The problem is that the landscape of loyalty, particularly in travel, is broken. It is a broken promise. People say they are giving you a reward. People say they are giving you a reward for your loyalty, and yet most of the time you can't use it, or you don't understand how to earn it, or you find yourself restricted with blackout periods and lack of availability. So people become dissatisfied and disillusioned with the whole of the travel loyalty space. And the financial impact of that is huge, absolutely huge. And once again, we have endorsement of this $100 billion number that you saw earlier this morning. So there we are. Two of us have said it. It must be true. $100 billion of unused loyalty points in the US alone. All right? So I think you do the math. You can conservatively say that's probably $250 billion of unused loyalty points globally. People can't use their loyalty points, and so they get frustrated, and that leaves a lot of money on the table. That's the problem, and that is a real problem. That's a $100 billion problem. We brought together a team to solve this problem. And what we did was we mixed people who have deep, deep experience in travel, and particularly travel loyalty, with people who have deep, deep experience in blockchain and the technologies around that. So without going through everybody's entire resume, I've spent 30 years in travel. I've been an executive in major travel companies. I was chief commercial officer at Qatar Airways. I was a C-suite executive at British Airways. Elijah, our CTO, has been coding since he was 14. He was coding blockchain before people called it blockchain. Alan, our chief product officer, was an executive at some of the biggest travel technology companies and OTA players like Orbitz and like eBookers. Alan, most importantly, recently was chief product officer at Arivia. Arivia are a white label platform that manage the booking of travel. Bruno, our CMO and our resident Web3 expert, has already done 3 successful Web3 startups, Boson Protocol, Nauris, and Panther. And finally, we're now filling out our advisory board. First couple of advisors, super great names, particularly Kurt. Kurt was CMO at American Airlines. He was president of Advantage. Advantage is probably the biggest travel loyalty program in the USA. And Cooper, who was founder of CoinCircle and ICO Stats out in California. So really a stellar team, a real stellar team. And we put together a proposition and a solution this is a B2C solution, right? So we are targeting collectors and users of travel. And the first thing we're targeting is the people who feel that they have a lot of spread out loyalty currencies that they're not using. And probably most of you in this room are like that. You've got 4 programs, 5 programs, maybe 10 programs you're members of, with the exception of someone who doesn't ever join loyalty. You've got 5, 6, 10 programs, and you've got small amounts of points in them and you never use them. Or you haven't got quite enough for your first redemption. You haven't got enough for a room at Marriott. You haven't got enough for an airline booking on Iberia, etc., etc. So we allow people to aggregate that dust of scattered loyalty points into one place. We allow them to redeem that for actual travel experiences. right away. And the reason they can redeem it right away is we allow them to mix loyalty currency, the new currency of Voy, with either cash or cryptocurrencies. We allow them to amplify that stock of points by staking coins, staking LSTs with us, and we reward that, and I'll tell you a bit more about that. And finally, we're going to give them the opportunity to earn more and more of these through different activities around the world of Web3. Very quickly, we have taken a number of simplifying assumptions in creating Voy with a single objective of accelerating this business so that it can have a huge footprint as quickly as possible. One of our simplifying assumptions is we're going to match people's points for the first year. Because you probably all are thinking, how are you going to form contractual relationships, API relationships, with all of these brands on the bottom, right? That if all of us got together, that would take us 2, 3, 4 years, right? How's just Simon and his gang going to do this? And the answer is we're not. We're not going to ask any of them. We're not going to have any contractual relationships because we're not transferring any points. One of the myths of the world of loyalty is that points, actual points, are moving left, right, and center across boundaries. And points are not moving. Normally, dollar equivalents of points are moving. In our game, we're going to start for the first year by matching the points. And that means on day one, and day one will be in about a month, people will be able to match any currency, right? We're starting with a simple list of about 50 in our exchange, but you want to match something else, you bring it to us and we'll allow you to match it. So that's a huge, huge footprint on day one. Secondly, we've made a simplifying assumption in our technology for redemption. And that is we've partnered with someone who is really good at this. We've partnered with a white label platform, of course, it's Arivia. And Arivia already have white label booking engine. This is well-trodden path. People know how to make booking engines. This is very similar to Expedia, Booking.com, etc. It is already populated with priced inventory. The priced inventory is closed user group priced inventory, so it has its discounts, and the discounts are what we are using to fund the loyalty point contribution. So you can use this booking engine, and again, in about a month, we launch this booking engine. It's pretty much ready. It's in test now. And you can be able to discount, let's just say around 25% off a normal retail price because it's a closed user group using your points. Again, massive footprint. On day one, 200,000 hotels worldwide. Absolutely huge. Plus the rest you would expect. Air, activities, car rentals, insurance, etc. We do accept crypto, so we're not just accepting cash plus our own points. We allow people to use our redemption platform and mix points with other currencies, including the main cryptocurrencies. And then we add the next layer, which is staking. So we appeal to people who are the digital nomads of the world, the people who want to have a currency that's relevant to their digital existence and are already sitting on a certain amount of crypto asset, particularly willing to stake that asset. And we allow them to stake the LSTs with us, and we give them outsized rewards. So we're going to give them a bigger yield than they would normally get when they were getting a straightforward yield in another cryptocurrency. We're going to give them a higher yield because we're going to boost that yield by adding the points, the Voy points, to that yield, which they can then turn into travel. So effectively, people can bring and stake a certain amount of cryptocurrency with us and turn the benefit of that stake into vacations. This is where I think it gets really interesting, okay? So we've been through these levels, right? We've allowed people to aggregate their dust of points. We've allowed people to start redeeming that for travel. We've allowed people to start amplifying that by staking assets. And now you've got a Web3 travel loyalty currency that's got real power because it's got such great redemption opportunity. Now you start doing it inside our own ecosystem and with partner ecosystems for people who want to incentivize activity. Okay? This isn't about loyalty, this is about rewarding activity. And I've shown you here a whole variety of activities that could be incentivized very easily using Voy points as an output. We've put together a first cut business model. One of the things we've tried to do is be ultra conservative here. I could stand in front of you now and say, we're going to create a $1 billion business, right? And I mean, who doesn't want to create a $1 billion business? But what I want to show you here is that we have line of sight to a steady growth. I'm not going to show you any hockey stick curves like, it's going to be nothing for 5 years, and year 6 it's going to be crazy big. No. We have a straight line growth opportunity here that translates very quickly into a very healthy gross margin business. We'll be gross margin profitable next year, be net margin profitable the year after that. We're a consumer business, okay? So our GTM is a little bit different to the people who've spoken before. Right? We've already circumnavigated the problem of having to acquire our B2B relationships. Right? That's sorted because we've found another way, right? But we still have to acquire users, right? And as you know, acquiring users is a timely and expensive business. The travel credits is a great acquisition hook because people get it. Like, it's very easy. Like, you could explain that to your mother, right? You could say, hey, Mom, you've got those 100 Hertz points that you've had there sitting there for ages and you never used them. Why don't you bring those into this program and then you can use them straight away? That is a great hook, and it also allows us to boost that as well, because we can give these points away as promotional benefits to tempt people into the program quite easily. And we can give the points away as they go through their engagement with the program. So as they effectively deliver going through the process of signing up, but also we can gamify quests that the user can go through after they've signed up. Right? We've already got one of these live. The first quest is as simple as connecting your wallet. Now, actually, we launched the sign up an account page about a week ago in Tokyo. We got a few hundred people signed up straight away, and 20% of them already connected a wallet. So we have really good and quick engagement, and people are doing it because, I connect my wallet, and I'm going to get another $100 of travel credits. Finally, the Voy coin. So we're operating a two-tier system here. So we have effectively the points that are redeemable for travel experiences are effectively stable tokens, right? They're going to have a fixed value. And when we're giving points out for staking, etc., those will all be underpinned by USDC. At the same time, we will have a floating value token, a tradable token called the Voy coin, and that will be the main entry point for people who want to be involved actually in the governance, in effectively the classic Web3 ownership of the business. Finally, we're raising now. So here are the basic outline data of our current raise. We call it a pre-seed. I mean, honestly, we've been going for about a year and a half. We have product that is developed to within sort of like 95% of launch. So it's not really a pre-seed. We've been funded by friends and family all the way so far. And we have one anchor investor in Japan who's underwritten a lot of that and is underwriting ongoing costs at the moment. And so to say that we're a pre-seed is probably a little disingenuous, and that's why there's a fairly big valuation for us at the moment, because we're pretty much ready to go. To put that in perspective, at this point, I think they also called it a pre-seed. Travala were valued at 20 million, so there's a reasonable comparable for that. And that, my friends, is Voy. Welcome to TravelFi. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Sam. Do we have a first question from the non-jury? And from the jury?
Yeah, just a question about the token. Do you have all, this is 0.016. Do you already have the prices for the next rounds? I mean, what is the discount? Maybe I missed that.
Yeah,
no,
yes, it's a fair point. Right, so the discount of the pre-seed round is about 80%.
80, right?
80.
80.
Yeah, and we have a fairly classic step-up model in which as we cross certain delivery timelines or certain traction timelines, then we will do the next round of pre-sale and step up the value, or i.e. reduce the discount.
Okay, I have another question. So there's a lot of DeFi, even advanced DeFi in the presentation, which I like a lot. But the question is, how much are you dependent on the Web3 space adoption, or are you more like, okay, anybody can use it even if they don't have a wallet? What is the state for this, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. So both of those things are true, right? We are dependent on the Web3 world, and we do target people who are already, let me describe them as crypto enthusiastic, as people who will be warm to the full range of these ideas, not just the idea of sort of tokenizing their loyalty points, but also staking, right? And that's going to be important to us. But you're also very right to say that someone who is completely outside the Web3 world, who doesn't really want to know about blockchain, could easily use this. You could use this without having a wallet, because you could use this and just keep your Voy travel credit points in your Voy account.
All right, and so another one, sorry. The restaking part, this is like DeFi, but advanced DeFi, so even less people do that. But they are high spenders in general. If you're restaking ETH, you tend to have a bit of money, and that money tends to be relatively easy to access. A bit like we talked the other day with Morpheus. Morpheus, you're not selling, you're not asking them to give you your ETH, you're just asking them to park your ETH.
Correct.
In the contract. And again, that's one of the most exciting things happening in DeFi in general, which doesn't mean it's going to work or whatever, but it's, it's like with Aguilera and everything, it's the big thing which happened recently. I forgot the question now because I just wanted to think a little bit. I'll ask you a little bit. What is your take here? You're going to you're trying to reach the risk takers, right? Small group of people with a lot of money, just simplifying.
Yep.
And risk takers or potential risk takers basically look at the eigenlayer, and then they see Voy Travel as an alternative. So how are you going to reach those people, basically?
So let me just quickly wind back on your question. I think the first thing to say is that this is, again, a very giant market. I mean, giant market.
Giant.
Right? So what's the kind of total value, would you say, of ETH worldwide now? It's a bit over 100 billion, right? So 36 out of the bit over 100 of ETH out there in the wilderness is staked. That is a very, very large proportion. 36 billion opportunity.
Sorry to interrupt you. The number should not be the stake, but the liquid staking.
Yes,
is that the liquid staking?
You're correct, yes.
That's liquid staking, right?
That's liquid staking,
cool.
Exactly right, very good point. So, what we have as a proposition is, with pretty much all staking, people are giving you a range of yields depending on how much they want your business, but also the amount that you're going to stake and the length of your stake, right? So we have that as well. But what we have is the ability to boost that yield by offering the travel points on top of that. So effectively, when I talked earlier about how we see that Voy points could become a incentive currency for activity, we're actually doing that ourselves first, because we're going to incentivize our own staking using our points. Now, we would hope in the future people will incentivize other staking. Fine, great. But we have the ability to do that through our ownership of the points.
Sorry again, I really want to get deeper into this. So help me with the numbers. 36 billion is the value of staked ETH,
Yes.
Which is earning about 3% per year.
Yes.
How much is 3%? Like 10% is 3 billion and like 1 billion?
Yes.
About,
Yes.
so I'm not very bad at math, so 1 billion a year.
Yep.
So that's the price everybody is after.
Correct.
And if you get like, I don't know, 10% of this, you're getting effectively 100 million a year, right? Is that correct?
If you were to get 10% of this.
Yeah, I figure 1% is 1
Doesn't
million
follow
a year.
my previous conservative attitude, but yes.
Oh, you were mentioning these numbers before?
No, the numbers you've said are exactly right.
Okay.
I haven't said how much of this we're
Okay,
hoping.
let's say you get 1%, you have 1 million
We'd be happy.
real money a year, right? Okay. Now it's very difficult
10 million,
to know how easy it is to get to 1%, but I was just trying to get the range. Okay, thank you. I don't know if it's clear for everybody what's going on here. This is a new way to get money from the market without selling stuff. This is, I don't know, guys, it's so big in my opinion, but yeah. All right, thank you.
One more question. Can you remind me how you mentioned my mother or your mother? So how
we are obsessed with your mother, Bill.
Well, she's good to test things. So how can a mother bring her reward points into your system? How does that process work for non-nerdish people?
So for non-nerdish mothers, effectively you would have to, the nerdy-ish thing you would have to do is sign up, right? Once you're in the signed up, then we take you very easily through effectively an exchange program that says, okay, have you got any points in any of these programs, right? Enter it. Right?
Okay, but if she doesn't know, so how is this process? How does the process work?
Yeah.
Because or not a nerdish model myself, I have no idea what points I have.
Yeah.
So how does that?
So there are two different ways to do that. One is that we work with a partner called Award Wallet, and that is Award Wallet's business. So Award Wallet is very, very good at keeping track of what points you have in what programs around the world. And they're so good at that, we've decided not to become good at that. We just work with them. And so we API all of their data into Voy. And so if you have Award Wallet, and we would encourage you to have Award Wallet, then we can see all of the currencies you have. That's one way. That's the automated way. The non-automated way is you just pull out anything you have, your statement, your account, or anything, and you send that to us.
I sent that to you?
PDF, whatever, yeah.
Okay.
That's the highly manual way. But we have to have a manual way, because if our promise is that you could import anything, right, and you tell me, well, I've got some points from this hotel in Fiji, the chances of us being automatically connected to Fiji is zero. Right? We're never going to connect. And so therefore we have a manual process where we just match what you tell us you've got.
Okay.
Yeah, you mentioned you have in Tokyo people signed up. Can we sign up too? Is there a way to do that now? Or maybe later?
Yes, there is.
QR code or something?
Exactly. Voytravel.com.
All right, cool. Thank you.
I'm now realizing I made a crucial mistake in my presentation. I should have closed with a QR code, and then I could have had you all sucked in straight away. But schoolboy error.
Thank you.
Unspent points are a liability on the balance sheet of airlines and these companies. And when the points expire or don't get spent, then the company gets to write them off. I'm just wondering I can see the benefit to the consumer, but how would the businesses benefit from more streamlined spending of points? And also with the staking, that's basically points that are accrued to the customer that the business then has to cash in. So I can see the benefits from a consumer point of view, but from the airlines, the hotels that are giving these points away, how are you solving their problems?
Yeah. So, I'm glad you've asked that question because it's reminded me of one thing that I hadn't talked about yet. So I'm going to talk about that in the answer question. The first thing, just a reminder, okay, we're not taking points from any of the airlines. They're not giving points to us. They're not allowing their points to be used in Voy. What we're doing is mirroring their points, right? If you've got 100,000 points on British Airways, we're going to give you that equivalent in Voy, all right? Which would probably be like 1,500 Voy or something like that, right? And we're just going to give you those. And that's the end of the discussion with British Airways at the moment. That's our year one plan. And we've done that, A, because we can afford to, because they're being used as discounts, and B, for, as I said, massive footprint on day one, super acceleration, turbocharge. However, what we will do is follow the data. And what we'll find, I'm pretty sure, is that after a year, there are like 10 or 15 programs where people are always matching from. I mean, you can almost bet that Marriott Bonvoy will be one, right? Because it's the biggest hospitality program in the world. So that's going to be a big matching opportunity. At that point, we then open a conversation with those 10. And we say, look, you don't know us, but we've had conversations with X number of your customers, and they've asked to move a total of 200 million points out of your program, right? We can provide you that data, and then you, exactly as you said, can accrue the liability benefit of an immediate write-off of those points, because you can just write all those points down straight away. So then we've got a conversation going on with the CFO of Marriott Bonvoy. It's like, would you really like to write off the liability of 200 million? Okay. What do we want in return for that? We want you to promote Voy to your low usage members. Okay. We don't expect you to pay us for these points. You just promote Voy. That's stage 2. Stage 3, we've now got a bunch of these conversations going, and then we go back to them and say, okay, let's do a split on that liability benefit. And we would like a cut of that. But that's a little bit down the road. So we build up to that.
Missed it earlier. What's the business model? It's a subscription-based program?
No, the business model actually, most of the revenue churns through travel booking.
Gotcha.
We're going to make a commission on the travel booking.
Free subscription, I join,
Yep.
and the transaction subscription, I mean, not
Correct.
the transaction, then that's, okay, and with all the access to industry experts and partnerships, what's the sentiment? Like, essentially you're saying, we have this capital, we're going to subsidize the loyalty rewards, the Voy points for people, right? They're not going to deduct 100 points from British Airways, et cetera.
Yep.
I'm going to be able to use that.
Yep.
I'm going to be able to use the Voy points for now.
Yep.
But what is the sentiment? I'm sure you have access to a lot of the airline executives, the rewards program people. Like, are they saying, even without that experiment and following the data, what is that initial sentiment? Because that's the risk, right? From an investor perspective, it's like, okay, I'm giving you 100 million. I mean, let's say $1 million right now, but you're going to use that to subsidize the potential growth in this experiment. And I'm just trying to figure out, like, what metrics are you looking at?
Yeah. So let me I want to just remind you one thing before we get into the answer, which is the reason that we're giving the points is that we have margin, right? And those points are basically paid for by that margin. So we can give the transaction margin, exactly. So we can give as many points as we like, because effectively the amount of points you can use when you redeem is capped at our margin anyway. So that it's not that they're quite free to give away, because if we give them, if the customer uses a lot of them right up to the cap, then we make zero margin. But if the customer hasn't got that many and they use say half of the cap, then we make a really healthy margin on the booking. So we're definitely not using any of our fundraising to subsidize the points. That could run badly very quickly.
Okay. Yeah. I'm glad you clarified that. The transaction. That's why I was wondering what the business model is.
Right. It's all built into the transactional business model.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.